So let's begin by discussing the basic rules or laws for operating the human machine, for getting the very best out of ourselves. I'd like to begin by introducing some basic principles or laws that we'll be coming back to over and over again as we go along. First of all is the law of control. The law of control is an essential law in understanding how we function, and many psychologists, if not most psychologists today, have come to the conclusion that the degree of control that we feel we have is in direct proportion to the amount of mental health that we have. The law of control simply says that we feel good about ourselves to the exact degree to which we feel we are in control of our own lives, and that we feel bad about ourselves or we feel out of harmony with ourselves to the exact degree to which we feel we are controlled by outer circumstances, by other people, by things beyond our control, if you like. Psychologists call this the difference between an internal locus of control, a feeling that we're behind the steering wheel of our own lives, and an external locus of control, a feeling that somebody else is controlling our lives and taking us where they want us to go. Control begins, first of all, with our thoughts, what we think, and that controls our feelings, what we feel, and leads to how we perform or our actions. But all control begins with taking control of the thoughts we hold in our conscious mind. The second principle or law is a metaphysical concept called the law of accident. The law of accident says, in effect, that there is no way that we can control what happens to us, that everything just happens by accident, that it's not what you know, it's who you know, it's the way the cookie crumbles, it's being in the right place at the right time. Unfortunately, whether they realize it or not, the vast majority of men and women live their lives by the law of accident. By failing to plan, they're planning to fail. They have no goals beyond the short term, they make no plans, they don't really feel that they're in control of their own destiny, and they just hope that somehow things will work out all right for them. One of the major reasons we have so much negativity and disharmony and unhappiness and misery and skepticism in our society is that most people feel like bump cars in a carnival, that they go off in one direction or another depending upon the next incident that happens to them. And of course, people who live by the law of accident can have no sense of control or mental well-being. Opposed to the law of accident is what we call the law of cause and effect. Now, the law of cause and effect is really the basic law of the universe. It's the law of the cosmos. It is the reason that everything happens. And the law of cause and effect simply says this, that for every effect in our lives, there is a specific cause. That if we do not like the effects that we are enjoying in our life, it is up to us to identify the causes and change the causes. That irrespective of whether or not we know what the causes are, there is a reason for everything that happens. There is, in fact, no such thing as an accident. Everything that happens in our life happens by law and not by chance, and that it is our primary duty to understand the laws that control our destinies, and by understanding the laws we can control the causes and change the effects to anything that we want. You will recognize immediately that the law of cause and effect is completely consistent with the law of control, because if we can identify the causes, we can control the effects and therefore control what happens to us in our lives. And people who live happy, fully functioning, harmonious lives are people who live by the law of control and understand the law of cause and effect in their lives. Under the law of cause and effect, there is one major application, which we will return to again several times, and that is simply this. It is that thoughts are causes and conditions are effects. That our thoughts are always the primary causes of the conditions or effects in our lives. That we control our lives by our thoughts, that everything that we are today is the sum total result of all the thinking that we have done to this moment. That if we wish our lives to be different in the future, we have to change our thinking in the present, and by so doing, we change the direction of our lives. There are three mental laws which I'd like to introduce now, in addition to the law of control and the law of cause and effect. And the first of these three mental laws is what we call the law of belief. The law of belief simply says that whatever you believe with feeling becomes your reality. That you are the sum total result of all of your belief systems to this moment. And that your beliefs form a screen of logic or a screen of prejudices through which you see the entire world. That you never allow in any information that is inconsistent with your beliefs. And that even if you have beliefs that are totally inconsistent with reality, to the degree to which you believe these things to be true, they become true for you. The law of belief is referred to in every book of religion, in the Talmud, in the Torah, in the Koran, in the Bible. In the Bible it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, or as a man believeth in his heart, so is he. Or, according to your faith, it is done unto you. In other words, according to how deeply you believe it, it is done unto you. The law of belief is so powerful in our lives that even if we hold beliefs that are based on totally false information, they have an impact on what happens to us and an impact on our effects. I'll give you a very good example. A couple of years ago, a young man from a small Midwestern school got straight A's straight through high school and then wrote the college entrance exams, what are called the SAT tests, or the Scholastic Aptitude Test, for entrance into the state university. He got his exam results back and a letter from the university a few weeks later that said that he had scored 98 on the SAT test and was being admitted into the university. Now, the young man did not know what a SAT score was, and when he got a 98 on the SAT score, he was convinced that it meant that he had a 98 IQ. Now, a 98 IQ is a below-average IQ and is about 20 points less than is necessary for college entry work. He went off to school, and in the entire first semester of college work, he got straight D's. He either failed or almost failed in every single class that he was in. At the end of the first semester, his counselor called him in and asked him, "What is the problem? You got straight A's in high school. The coursework that you're doing here is only a year advanced from your high school work. Why is it you're having such difficulty with these courses?" He said, "Well, sir, you can't really blame me because, I only have a 98 IQ. And the counselor, who had his file in front of him, said, "Where did you get this idea?" He said, "Well, I got it in my entry letter to the university. It said that I'd been accepted and that I got 98 on the SAT test." He said, "Young man," he said, "a 98 on a SAT test is not an IQ rating. It is a percentile rating." And the young man didn't understand what a percentile was, and the counselor explained that a 98 meant that he had scored equal to or better than 98% of all the students writing entry exams to colleges and universities in North America that year. That he was one of the brightest students in the university, if not one of the brightest students in the entire country. When the young man understood clearly that it was not a 98 IQ, but it was a 98 percentile, he turned around, he went back to his classes, and in the next semester he got straight A's. This was reported in Psychology Today and is consistent with hundreds of different experiences that people have had. The most important single application of the law of belief is this, is that if we have self-limiting beliefs, irrespective of whether or not they are based on reality, to the degree to which we believe them, they become true for us. And most of the beliefs that we have that limit or impair our effectiveness, the self-limiting beliefs, are not based on reality at all. They are based on information that we have taken in from a variety of sources, often starting in early childhood, but to the degree to which we accept those ideas as true, they become true for us, and we live in a manner consistent with them. As a matter of fact, our mind works in such a way that it edits out or refuses to allow in any evidence that is contrary to what we have decided to believe. So if we have positive experiences that indicate that we have competence or ability in a particular area where we have believed or decided that we have no competence or ability, we will mentally screen it out. We will engage in a process of what is called selective perception. We will not see the examples that indicate that we are competent. We will only see the examples that indicate that we are lesser in our abilities in those areas.